I'd like to welcome everybody to our board meeting, scheduled board meeting for May 9th. Our opening ceremonies, time is now 7 o'clock. I declare this meeting open. I call it to order. I declare we have a quorum. Ms. Butler, will you lead us in the pledge? And Mr. Recker, will you give us invocation? Could you please stand, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor to Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Let us pray. Father God, we come now thanking you for this day. We thank you for the many blessings that you continue to bestow upon us. We pray, Lord, that you would bring us together on one accord at this time. We pray for your guidance and that you would give us the understanding that we all need. Help us to lean not to our own understanding, but in all our ways acknowledge you. We ask these blessings in the mighty name of Jesus Christ. It is for his sake we pray. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Director and Ms. Butler. First, before we open in public testimony, I'd like to have a moment of silence. Many of you knew Fred Diosas. His dad passed away recently, so the board would like to recognize and pass his condolences to the Diosas family. Also, Coach Taylor has been in the hospital and he's out now, but doing a lot better. And we want to pass our best wishes to him, as well as Miss Tasha Pate, who lost her husband recently in an accident. So we want to keep her in our prayers as well. Okay. Next is a public testimony. Do we have anybody sign up? Okay. Before we have public comment, I got a statement I need to read to you. Pursuant with Board Policy BED, the Board will allow every person who wishes to address the Board on an agenda item to do so before the Board consideration of the item. The Board will not deliberate regarding any subject that is not included on the agenda posted with the notice of this meeting. This is the time for the Board to stop, look, listen to public comments. Each speaker will be allowed 3 minutes to address the Board. And when you come up, please, I'll call your names, the people who signed up. Please state your name and your address for our records, please, so we can put it down in our minutes. We appreciate that. And first up, have Mr. Don Ivy. Welcome, Mr. Ivy.
Thank you very much to the esteemed members of the Board of Trustees and the ladies and gentlemen of the audience. One of the things I wanted to bring up was an incident that happened a while back with my grandson with a coach crib, and he was out there, and when he come home from school, when he had blisters on his hand, looked like blisters to me. You know, it wasn't real. They had one here that covered about half the hand, another one here about a quarter of the hand, and then a couple more. So I said, "What in the world happened to you?" He said, "Well, we were doing some work out there, and I got the blisters on it." I said, "Well," my wife said, "Well, let's take him to the emergency room." So we took him over to the emergency room in Rockport, and the lady said, "These ain't blisters, sir. These are burns. These are asphalt burns." And I said, "Well," he was telling me, so then he told me what happened is that they was on this asphalt, and they was doing these bear crawls or whatever it was they do. Well, and some of the kids, I saw some of the kids' pictures, their whole hand has got these burns on them. And I said, "Well, why didn't you tell the coach, hey, I got a burn on my hand, stop. I mean, you got to think for yourself, And then he said, "We did tell him." I said, "What did he tell you?" He said, "This is a question that you'll learn the rest of your life. You remember this day, and you won't mess up no more." And I thought, that's like torture. This is bull. There's no reason for this for a coach to be doing these kids. I coached youth football for years. I was president of the league for 10 years, did baseball, and I never saw that before in my life. These are young kids. These ain't pros. These ain't college stars, And now I believe myself on the coach's behalf, If he would have been out there in the grass, I wouldn't have said nothing, you know, because that can happen. But on asphalt, you know, painted asphalt in this hot degree weather, asphalt gets hot. And that's what the burns was from the asphalt getting hot. Okay. And so he didn't want me to come up here and say anything, but I couldn't let it pass, you know. And I believe if the coach had have said, hey, man, you guys, you got burns on your hands, let's stop this crap and go back, I wouldn't have said nothing about it. But when you tell a kid that age to suck it up, when he's got blisters on his hands, and go back to doing that stuff, to me, that's uncalled for. You know, that's just my personal opinion. Everybody has their own opinion. And then, like I said, some of them, their whole hands, both of them, was just a solid blister. You know, so that's, you know, and this here, in this world today, we don't need coaches like that. I don't need people like that. I don't want them around my grandson. You know, and that's basically what I got to say about the whole subject of the matter, and from what I got on it. And I thank y'all very much for your time.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Ivy, did you give us your name, your address, please? Did she give us the address? Could you state your address, please, for our records?
2477 Johnson Road, Ramsey Pass, Texas.
All right, thanks, sir. Next is Mr. Ian Caceres? Close enough.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Welcome, or thank you for the welcome. My name is Isaias Ian Cáceres. I live at 433 West Stoddard Avenue in Aransas Pass, Texas. I'm also the pastor at First Baptist Church here in Aransas Pass. Protection is the heart of our roles as leaders in this world. There are too many problems on this planet and too many pitfalls and a mercy that seems to be waning and many souls that are lacking mercy at the same time in this world as we sit now. And protection is at the heart of the gospel that guides me and the gospel that guides our church. And Brian is a member of our church, and he has been a member of our church for many years. I know Brian. He's a coach, and he's a poet and an artist behind and underneath the coach. He's a leader that leads with compassion. He's a leader that leads with creativity. His creativity knows only the bounds that God places upon that creativity. Discipline is one of the best and oldest ways that we know of to protect children, where we can put guardrails up because we don't want anybody falling into the gutters of this world. And we know that it may not feel good for a time, but it ultimately shapes and molds the person to be the best that God has designed that person to be. And there's one thing that good protection exhibits within the heart of the person in leadership. And without that very thing, it all comes crumbling down. It's like the ground gets taken out from underneath our feet if this one thing is not present in leadership. And that one thing is love. Love is what the Bible says covers a multitude of sins. It is what covers us forever as we seek to pass the test laid at our feet until we reach eternity with Jesus in heaven. And love is at the core of who we are in our church, and it is at the core of who Brian Cribb is in his heart. He is a lover. He is a lover of God first, and he is a lover of his family and then his church and his students. And love is at the core of good leadership. I trust Brian with my kids. He can be around any of my kids, any of my grandchildren, when I have grandchildren, if we're still alive at the same time. Brian is going to be with me in heaven. You can't have good leadership without love. And this is the leadership that guides, that protects, that directs, that provides, and that hems in. The Bible says that God is our shepherd and that he hems us in from behind and from before. He is all-encompassing. He is all around us. This is the protection that God gives, and this is how he lives his life. This is the God that leads Brian, and this is the type of leadership and the type of love that changes lives, the lives of the hundreds of people, and many of them adults now, who have been advocating for Brian since this thing swung into motion. You know, people make mistakes and people can be forgiven, and this forgiveness is at the core and the heart of who we are as a society, and it has to be. It has to be. We must have mercy. We must have forgiveness. You know, there's an unintended consequence that comes with discipline at times. This discipline and the unintended consequence came with blisters or calluses or whatever happened on the hands. The same type of unintended consequence that happens on a football field or in practices when people tear ligaments or break bones. I'm worried about what this school district would open itself up to if these types of things go forward and happen in the future. And listen,
Time's
this
up.
is important.
Your time's up, sir. Thank you for your comments.
God bless you.
Next is Miss Dawn Story. Again, could you revise your address, please?
My name is Dawn Story. I live at 2300 Barcelona, Ingleside, Texas. I have worked for 17 years side by side with Brian Cribb. I have worked with him. I have shared a classroom with him. I have shared students with him. I have shared ups and downs. That being said, I have 3 grandchildren who are enrolled in this school district, 2 young boys and a girl. I have a 6th grader and a 5th grader, and we have been waiting for the day when they would be able to be taken under Brian Cribb's wing. He is a role model. He inspires his students. I have seen children make huge leaps and bounds and turn their lives around because of what he is able to give to them. And I just want to be sure that my children and grandchildren can still benefit from what Brian Cribb has to offer. Please consider that.
Thank you. Next, Diane Genovese. Please state your name, please, and your address.
I'm Diane Genovese. I live at 2259 County Road, 1942, Aransas Pass, Texas. I'm actually reading a letter from Heather Genovese. Is that allowed? Okay.
Your comments.
Your comments, yeah.
Okay. To the superintendent, Cook, and the APISD school board. I'm writing this letter to you today as an APHS alumni, a school teacher, and a longtime friend of Brian Cribb. I'm not writing to argue or make a case on whether or not the actions of the students or Coach Cribb were right or wrong, but writing to ask that before you decide whether or not Coach Cribb should have the opportunity to resume his current contract, be renewed for the next academic year and years to come, you each take into account his 19 years of service to APISD, his character, and the intent that only he can attest to. I also challenge you to recall any interactions you have personally had with Coach Cribb and use those memories to in conjunction with his character, his tenure, and his intent to decide how to move forward. Coach Cribb has encountered, coached, taught, and mentored students of Aransas Pass School and youth leagues for more than 19 years. He has dedicated more than 19 years to the children and youth of this community. If more than 19 years of dedication does not attest to his commitment and love for his community, take a moment to reflect on the message you've seen posted on his classroom door and throughout the halls of the school. The post supporting him on social media, the words of the people who have spoken directly to you in support of Coach Cribb, and the people whom are standing in the boardroom this evening. A man of ill will, spite, and intent to harm the very students and young adults he has volunteered to serve and committed to serve through his chosen profession would not have the support of this many, whom I imagine have met him at different times over the last 19 years. These people, the notes, the petitions, and the testaments should not be ignored. I imagine you have and will continue to hear more people attest to the positive impact Coach Cribb has played in their life and the life of someone close to them. As a steward of the district and community, this man is surely owed the ability to be heard, listened to, respected, and believed, and forgiven for any mistakes made. As a teacher, we are asked to teach beyond the guidelines and TEKS set forth by TEA. It is not often recognized that we teachers are sometimes responsible for teaching and building students and functioning members of the community. We teach so much more than academics. There is a level of trust that is placed upon us, and we take it seriously. It is also unfairly placed upon us is the expectation of perfection. Perfection is impossible. It is unfair to expect that mistakes will not be made. As teachers, we start teaching early on that mistakes will be made, and we are to apologize, learn from them, and to do better. We allow our students to make mistakes and learn lessons from those mistakes, and we are to be understanding and equally gracious when adults make mistakes. Losing a man of such good and godly character will be a true loss for Aransas Pass ISD.
Thank you. Next, James Mills. Welcome, Mr. Mills. Again, when you get to the mic, could you give your address, please? Thank you.
Good evening, school board, and to all the guests and visitors here. My name is James Mills. I live at 241 South Saunders. I'm here for two reasons. One, to support a dear friend of mine, and one, to acknowledge two of your current teachers that work at Falk Elementary. And the concern of Brian Cribb, I've known this man over 20 years. I substitute taught many years with the school district. I've taught at the junior high level, and Brian was very helpful toward me in handling the situation. I was a sub, I wasn't a professional teacher. He helped me get through a lot of times. I've known him a long time. He's helped me with my son. My son went to school here, my daughter went to school here, my wife, and my grandson is attending school here. And I too have no problems with leaving a 9-year-old boy with Brian Cribb. He's taught me so much about myself and the love he has for family and community. I don't know all the circumstances that have occurred. I'm sure there's more to it than just students doing these little crab walks. There's got to be something else that prompted this action. I don't know what it is. I don't know what the motive was, but I know in Brian's heart it was not to hurt anyone. It was to make a point. It was to emphasize something, a learning experience. And Brian has taught me and my family so much about it. His family, I've known them a long time. They're dear, sweet people. It's not in his nature. And on that matter, would you two please stand? I know I'm embarrassing you. This gentleman is leaving Falk Elementary for bigger and better things. He's been very instrumental with my grandson and the autism that he has had from pre-K to second grade. The school district was not too aware of autism at the time, but this man stepped up and helped us with my grandson and the things that comes with an autistic child. My grandson is a superb student now. He made Student of the Month a while back, and that man put him in for it, and she recommended it. For my grandson to have gone from what he was, and it wasn't his fault, it's a situation he has. This woman assisted, has been helpful in so many ways, and this is a plug for her in a way. She's up for his job, and I would heartily recommend that you could take that in consideration, because these two are exemplary. And I'm sorry to say we're losing him, but she's been a wonder for it. And I want to thank you all for the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, I have Mr. Frank Guzman.
Thank you to the board. Thank you for everybody for listening to me. My name is Frank Guzman. My address is 2313 County Road 1838. And I'm here to speak on behalf of Brian Cribb. I've known Brian since I put my nieces in school here in the 6th grade, and he was part of their coming up, and he was a mentor. He's not only a coach, he's a mentor to a lot of these students. I wish when I was a kid, a troubled child, there's no telling how many troubled children this man has helped with his compassion, with his love, with his understanding. The stuff that they're saying about the hands, people make mistakes. Like Pastor Ian said, forgiveness is the key to all. I remember I talked over here against somebody else. I've talked to, for, and against. And when I talked against, I never wanted to crucify anybody. I just said I wanted forgiveness, and I wanted for them to acknowledge the suffering that they had caused. This was a physical thing, but the thing that was before was words, and the Bible says that the tongue is sharper than a two-edged sword. Those words cut deeply. Those are scars that won't go away. The scars on these boys' hands, they heal. They're going to heal, and they're going to get a learning experience. Whether it was from what the cause was, but they're going to grow from this. But words you can't take back. So I just ask for the same consideration when you look at Coach Cribb, that there should be some compassion and forgiveness for this matter. I've known Coach Cribb I follow a lot of the sports in this town. He's at every function. He's there to support the kids from whatever grade level to high school. He's there to support these children. He doesn't have to be there, but he's there to support the children. I get to sing with him at the community choir, Pastor Ian. These are all my people right here, most of them. Because you talked about God encompasses this. Well, we're a family. We're a family, and I want to speak up for my brother in Christ, because as Pastor Ian said, I'm going to spend eternity with this man. There's no doubt in my mind. The things that they're saying, the boys said that he said they had blisters and he still kept them going. They're mistakes. Let's have some compassion. I think that Coach Cribb, that's entirely out of his character. He would never purposely harm a child. He has only love for these children. Only love. I've seen a lot of coaches that don't have that kind of love for these kids, that don't want to take them in and mentor them, and not only teach them about sports, but teach them about life. And not only just life, but life eternal through his actions, through the way that he holds himself. So I just ask that you would take that in consideration also.
Time's up, sir.
I thank y'all very much for your time, and I hope he will be reinstated, because I think he's been away from the school far too long as it is. Far too long. He should have. Some of the other people were not even kicked out of the school, or had to
time's
go away
up.
from school.
Time's up, sir. Thank you.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all very much.
God bless you all.
Next, Ms. Tanya Chamberlain.
Hello, everybody. Everybody over here. Some of you I know, some of you I don't. My name's Tanya Chamberlain, and I live at 1931 Estes Flats Drive, Aransas Pass, Texas. I'm a sports mom. All three of my kids go, and they're in the district here at APISD, and my son was one of the athletes that got his hands hurt. For those of you that know my son in here, he's a pretty honest kid. I sat him down when I found out, and what I wanted to know was, did you still trust him, and did you still respect him? And it was absolute yes. I've only met Coach Cribb a couple of times. I don't know him like everybody else does, but I believe in my kids. My kids have been waiting to get to this level for Coach Cribb to coach them. They're part of a group that's been playing together since they were little, and they've all been waiting to get there. I'm really close to some of the other boys that did get hurt. Some of those boys went to a football camp on Sunday after they had their blisters in their hands. They kept playing, and all they kept doing was just wanting to be better. And Coach Cribb has instilled that in them already. I'm a very hard sport parent, really hard on my child, all of my kids when it comes to sports. I'm an old school athlete, and I've had a lot of stuff happen when I was playing. I didn't think it was right or wrong, but nothing was ever done maliciously, and I believe it wasn't done in this point here. I only ask that you guys please he needs to stay, and we need to go forward with our sport programs with this. It was a mistake. It was corrected, and as from my son's words, he said he apologized immediately. I don't know what else happened or any of that, but I believe my son, and as long as he tells me he trusts him and respect him, I believe wholeheartedly that this man is what everybody says he is. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Kimra Hill. I mispronounced your first name, didn't I? No. State your address, please.
Yes, sir. How's it going? Cameron Hill, 126 Paget Drive, class of 07. Also class of doing bear crawls in that field over there and getting espinas like crazy. So I've been thinking all week, honestly, since I found out about this, what I was going to say to you guys. I was going to write it down, but I was like, I'm not. I'm just going to get up here and rip it. And I want to thank Pastor for his kind words, and that brought back a lot of memories for me. And I apologize if I get emotional, because growing up, Coach Cribb would open that church and take us in, and we would play basketball till midnight. And there were a lot of things we could have been doing up at midnight, but we were playing basketball and getting better. And he led us not only on the court, but he helped grow us as men. And I honestly believe, and I know Rancis Pass is big on his sports programs, in that basketball gym, a lot of those plaques are up there because of the work that he put in with us, taking us in when we weren't able to practice within that facility. And Pastor also mentioned mercy. And this gentleman, I forget your name, I apologize. Something he said brought what I wanted to say. This body, I was here, you guys probably remember me, I was here till 11:49 with you guys while you guys were in executive session discussing another gentleman. And I know you guys are capable of mercy because you showed him mercy. I went to 2-3 girls varsity playoff games, and my heart hurt because I saw him there coaching, allowed to continue in his profession, and you guys gave him that mercy. And you guys are better people than me because that man coached me, and seeing his words hurt my heart. And you guys gave him mercy, more mercy than I would have. And when I was here, I saw him and my heart was full of rage. Well, you guys showed him that mercy, and I accepted that decision. And I also just ask that you guys continue to show that mercy, because Coach Cribb is a pillar in this community. Yes, sir. He has taken in boys and girls and given them a purpose and shown them what it is to be an adult, to grow, not only as an individual, as an athlete, but within Christ, as these people have talked about. And that's not my thing, but if that helps mentor and grow people, then all the power to him. So I think by taking him out of the classroom, the schools, it was a mistake. And I just hope that you guys show that same mercy you showed before. So thank you.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Mike Hernandez. And sir, when you reach the mic, could you please put your address, tell us your address, please?
Good evening. My address is 940 County Road, 1986.
Thank you.
My name is Mike Hernandez. I have a sixth grader that was involved in Coach Cribb's incident. They were made to crawl the equivalent of a quarter mile on painted asphalt because two kids were unruly. Only the people involved know the truth, and if you ask any of them, you get the same story 40 times plus over. People think I haven't investigated this. I asked for the coach to be in the meeting the day it happened so he could explain in his words and give his side. The school declined because confidentiality. I spoke to the principal, the athletic director, the junior high athletic director, and no one condoned it. This is more than a mistake. I spoke to the superintendent on Friday, the day after. No one found it acceptable. I am all for team building, discipline, and for being one, but not on asphalt in 85-degree weather where asphalt can reach 130 degrees, and not after kids repeatedly showed the coach to tell him they were burning and bleeding and peeling skin off, just to be told, you still owe me 2 more. You owe me 3 more. This caused 1st, 2nd, and 3rd degree burns. not friction blisters, as everybody keeps saying. This was intentional because he took them from inside the school building, past the practice field, to the old tennis courts. I've been coaching youth sports for 10 years. I've known better since day one. He's been doing coaching for 19 years. He should know better. This was abuse of his power, abuse of position, and because of the injuries, abuse of children. The kids did the punishment and pushed through it till he stopped them at 5 instead of 10 bear crawls. It only takes one mistake to become many things: a bad coach, a bad parent, and a bad teacher. I've seen people let go for less. Mr. Cribb, like you told the kids, look at your hands. This is the consequences of your actions. And because of your actions, I hope APISD makes the correct choice. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. And that concludes our public hearing. Ms. Cook, you had a comment you wanted to make?
I just wanted to thank you all for coming tonight and sharing your thoughts and concerns. I just wanted to share a little bit because I know this has been very frustrating for so many. We do value your input and we appreciate you taking the time to come out tonight. Personnel and student matters are very sensitive. And as a district, we must ensure that we uphold the highest standards of confidentiality to protect everyone that's involved. I understand that that becomes very frustrating for everyone when you do not receive the details of a situation and then you feel you must rely on other information that's not always grounded in the facts. We try to share what we can, but unfortunately, it is usually very little that we're permitted to share. There are also laws and policies that we must follow when conducting any type of investigation. There are outside agencies that we're required to contact in some cases. There are regulations that abound in the educational world that do not always make sense to those outside this realm, as it looks so different in the business world. And I know this is also very frustrating, not only for you, but for us. When considering any action in matters, our focus is first and foremost our students, to ensure that they have a safe learning environment with the best educational access possible. Next, we want to take care of our employees. They are like family to us, and we strive to provide them a place where they wish to give their very best every day for the sake of every child. Finally, we strive to work alongside all of you, the parents, the grandparents, the community members, so that together we can achieve the dreams and desires that you all have for the children of this community. Tonight, any discussions on personnel matters are being held in closed session for confidentiality's sake. Any decision that might be made on the subject that you have all addressed this evening is not an item that will receive a public outcome tonight in public forum. I know that some of you do not know me personally and may not feel comfortable reaching out to me, so I want tonight to stress to you that I do have an open door policy. I'm always glad to visit with any of you to hear your thoughts and your side so that together we can find solutions for any problems that we're facing. Once again, for the sake of your children, your grandchildren, your nieces, your nephews, so that you can see us all achieving what you wish in this district. Again, we appreciate each one of you, and if you'd like to stay and hear the other items we'll be discussing on the agenda, we'd love for you to join us. But I do want you to know that your words have been heard, your emotions, your thoughts, those of you that have written, called, text, whatever it may be, all that's being taken into consideration. And I know this has been very frustrating that we can't share more of the details, but thank you for being here tonight, and I just wish to share that with you this evening.
Thank you. Okay, before I give everybody the opportunity, we're gonna go ahead and open the public hearing so you can kind of hear some of the things that we're gonna do for renovation wise. So it's a good opportunity for you, for some people who are not aware of that, some of our district plans we got going on. So, that, again, next on the agenda is a public hearing to discuss the renovations of Keyberger to increase instructional space at Charlie Marshall Elementary. Ms. Cook?
You want me to wait a minute
Yeah,
till?
I'm sorry. I've taken off already, huh? Good. Well, I want to thank all you people that kind of stayed again, because this is something that you're taxpayers, so this is where your money's going. So it's important for you to hear some of this stuff. So, so you get an opportunity to hear some of our plans for the future for the district. So, again, we thank the opportunity for other people, for people to attend tonight. We appreciate that. So, and your inputs. I opened a public meeting regarding the renovations of Keyberger to increase instructional space at Charlie Marshall. We're going to remodel and create admin office to increase instructional space at Charlie Marshall Elementary School. Ms. Cook?
Yes, so this hearing is for public, and so I'm glad some of you did choose to stay, because this is a public hearing where you can have input in this, and I think it's so good for you to hear what plans we're looking at. As we celebrated the completion of the athletic complex and finalized all of the bond of 2016, that's very exciting. And if you haven't seen the athletic complex, we hope you'll go and take a look at it. I'd love to take you on a tour of it. It's very beautiful. But as we look to the future and we're looking at our next needs, one is making sure that we, as we come out of this pandemic and we have the great learning loss, we have social emotional issues, we have a lot of needs. And so we've been prioritizing this year how to address these needs and what we need to focus in on. One of our main areas is to continue to have class size reduction, ensuring that, especially at our lower levels from kindergarten through fifth grade, pre-K through fifth grade, that we have smaller class sizes so that hopefully, dear Lord, let's pray not, but if we have any more incidences with COVID or something where we need to separate, we'd have room to do so. But to provide these teachers the access to the students in smaller numbers so they can help close the gaps and reach each of them individually. That's a huge piece. We also are envisioning and working toward for all of our campuses we've been working toward, our teachers are doing a fantastic job of doing more engaged learning with our students, hands-on, kind of building that access where they can apply their learning. To do that, you have station rotations where they have actually the ability to work through modules and different activities that the teachers create. But we also want to add, we did at Falk, they've already started, they have a science lab and they have what they call a maker space that we started last year where the students go in and they actually apply a lot of their, excuse me, I apologize, for STEAM, for science, technology, engineering, art, and math. You may have heard of that. We really want our students here in Aransas Pass to have that kind of access where they have that application, where they take what they're learning in science and they apply it in a setting where they can build things or discover things. So we started that at the lower level, and it's been a great success this year. So now we wish to move that up to our Charlie Marshall campus. In order to do these things, have STEAM labs, to have tutoring stations, to have rotation stations, to have smaller class sizes, we have to have space to be able to do that. As you were aware, as you came in this evening, you walked in and we basically, for administrative offices, I don't remember, I meant to go back and look and see what year it was that, it was before I came here 4 years ago, so it's been over 4 years, that administration, due to need, moved the office space into this building, the back of the building, and for a long time we took up even more of the hallway, and we've slowly been trying to move ourselves out of here. But the question has always been, where do we go? What does that look like? How are we fiscally responsible for you as taxpayers? Because to do really large projects, building projects, that you're looking at a bond passage, you're looking at other types of things like that. Well, this is probably not one of the best times to think about that as we come out of a pandemic, of course, and so we have a lot of work to do, but how do we do it with what we have? Well, we have Keyberger that has been sitting over there that has our alternative education as part of the classrooms, but the rest of the building has been vacant. So we started looking at how we could use that building for other opportunities. So we started working on I don't know how many of you have been in Keyberger, but if you can put that map up, we're looking at the main entrance when you go in the front entrance and the main hallway that goes down Keyberger, and these are going to be very small. I apologize. I was hoping we'd have something to show you larger. But imagine going in the front doors, and that would become the administration office area. You would enter for administration there so that we could move out of here, give these classrooms back to Charlie Marshall for students. We would come in the front door, basically this would be a remodel, very limited. There's some HVAC systems that need to be reworked. Some walls that need to be built, some painting that needs to be done, a little electrical work, fixing the restrooms so that there's a little more adult size access, we'll say. But this one wing down, all the way down to where there's a door wall that goes into the alternative ed would become the office space. We've had our architect do this drawing to draw up what that would look like. So with it, basically what it is taking a classroom similar to what we did here on a not as on a permanent basis, but a short-term basis, but we would do this more permanently with the walls and so forth that would stay. So basically taking a classroom and turning the classroom into 3 to 4 offices, or 3 offices and a storage space. So we really feel like this is what you would want from us as taxpayers, is to use what we have and use it wisely and use it well. Spending less money doing this, doing a build from ground up would be much more expensive than taking an existing building that still has good bones pretty much, but needs some things done to it. The plumbing, we're gonna be talking about that in a little bit, needs a little work. It's older piping. So things like that we can do, but a little paint here and there and some walls can go a long way. This would enable us to move into this building once it's completed, and then we could give this access back all the way up to the doors here coming into the boardroom. We would keep this as a boardroom / training center for the entire district, and then Charlie Marshall would have the rest of the rooms to do all the exciting things that we're talking about. Not to mention the growth that we're seeing. We still continue to see, even through the pandemic, we've seen more students coming, and so I feel like this next year we're really going to see a lot of students. So we don't want to be packing kids into classrooms, so we've got to plan ahead. We don't want to wait until they're here and go, okay, now we need to have a plan. So we're trying to stay out in front of it. So that is the idea. Now you're thinking, okay, that all sounds fine and good, but how are we going to pay for this? Well, that's been the big question as we've worked through all this. Well, we received, as part of the enhancement piece from the federal government, funneled through the state government, what's called Esther Funding. And Esther Funding, you may have seen if you've been at any of our meetings prior or watched them on video, we've talked about this. Back in June of 2021, we had a board meeting where I talked with the board about the Esther Funding that we were going to receive. We received an Esther 2 grant and an Esther 3 grant. The purpose of these grants are to close the learning gaps and make significant changes to the educational system. And we received this for the many district, just about every district in the state. There were a few that did not receive ESSER funding, but most did. It was based on different calculations. We were very blessed that with the total amount we received was just at $7 million. And this is $7 million to be used for a very focused concentration of what we're supposed to do to close the gaps, meet those social emotional needs, and so forth. So we developed our plan of action of where we wanted to focus these funds for the next 3 years. It's over a 3-year time to do this. So what we, using the guidelines that were given to us, we did supporting the teachers was our first area. We felt like we need, as you're very aware, teachers are exiting the educational system very quickly due to the stress and so forth. So how do we support them? How do we keep them? So we gave retention stipends this year. I kind of felt like Oprah at the convocation, being able to say, and you get $1,000 and you get $1,000. So I really, first time in education history I've been able to say something like that. This funding gave us the opportunity to really show how much we appreciate our teachers and that we want to support them in these hard times. We provided coaching for every staff member in our entire district. We worked to have class size reduction where we hired extra teachers at the lower levels so that we could keep those class sizes smaller, which did stretch us some. Like I said, in some of our areas, having the room and space to do that. You get the teacher, but then where do you put the teacher in the class? We did a lot of professional development. We had conference access, didn't get to go to as many conferences this year or go out and grow by learning from others due to the continuation of COVID, but hopefully this next year in year 2, we will be able to do more of that. We had an inspiring speaker that was brought in, reading academies, and stipends for those that were having to do extra work due to the things we needed to address. The next thing we started that we've planned out for the 3 years with this money is instructional materials, technology for all staff and students, curriculum upgrades and software programs were purchased, and field trips. Once again, we didn't get to do as many field trips, but hopefully this next year we can really ramp that up. We want our students to go out and experience what's around them and not just hear about it. So we want to take them out and do that, and we have the funding through this to do that. Extended instructional support was our third topic, our third area. This is where tutoring has come in. We've hired outside tutors that have come in, such blessings. Some of you in this room may be doing that. Retired teachers, people in the community coming in, and we're paying them to tutor one-on-one, one-on-3 with students. And that has been tremendous, and we're going to take that to a whole new level this next year. We're having a huge summer camp. I'll be giving a report about that in a moment, but I'll go ahead and tell you we've had 215 students register for our extreme summer adventure that we're doing this summer in partnership with AP for Youth. And we will be using the other wing of Keyberger to house a lot of that. So and this is going to be field trips, fun, the most exciting camp ever. So if you're out and about, stop by and we'll show you what we're doing. It's going to be extreme, stands for science, technology, reading, engineering, art, math. It will be hands-on and very engaging. So we're very, very excited. I just want to do that this summer, but I probably have other things to do too, but I'm excited about that. And then credit recovery. Social and emotional support, looking at character curriculum, character support for our students, providing extra counseling support for our staff and our students, and family engagement activities. You may have attended some of the activities that our counselors and the staff on those campuses put on. And then the other support that we are continuing for the next 2 years with these funds that we did this year is school supplies, buying school supplies for all the students in our district so that that helps the families out. So those were the areas that we started out looking forward what we needed to do. We still feel like after this time that's still the areas we need to focus in on. We fine-tuned some of it, but it's pretty much still those areas. And we had put indirect cost into the planning. You have to do the budget with this. We'd put indirect costs because we just really didn't know what we were truly dealing with. We were having to plan for something we didn't know what was really coming. So we had put a little over $400,000 in indirect cost. And so what I'm proposing is that we use up to $400,000 to go towards this renovation for Keyberger. That will not hinder any of the other activities that we are the focus areas we want to be able to do. We'll still be able to do everything we wanted. What ended up happening, we got a little bit more when we first did the planning, then they came back and gave us a little bit more money, so that helped us out too. So that is where we would pull the funding from. It does take TEA approval, along with board approval. The board last month approved the design and has approved for us and approved the way that we would, the procurement method, how you bid out and get so that's already all in the works. Now it was to finalize by sharing what our full plan is now that we have it, what our proposal is, how we were going to get the funding, and the hearing is so that we can have all stakeholders be able to have some input into this, what you think about it, any ideas, and so we hope you'll be in support of it, so at this time, I guess we could open it up for any comments or questions. And
Yeah, at this time, I'd like to open the meeting to any member of the public that wishes to comment on the proposed renovations at Keyberger. Do we have anybody that wishes to make any comments? No?
a thumbs up, maybe, yes.
Okay.
Can we borrow some of that money at First Baptist?
A little renovation. You know, when we first got it, I thought $7 million. Oh my goodness! And you have to spend it within the 3 years, or they'll take it back. And that's just how federal government works. And so I thought, there is no way we're going to spend all this. That's that fast. Oh my goodness, we did it. We're doing it. We're making it happen. And you know, but it's been a blessing. It's been a real blessing, and we wouldn't be able to do this right now if it wasn't for this opportunity. So we're just trying to use the money very, very carefully.
Okay, if nobody has any public comments, you know, at this time, if you would like to leave, we're going to go through the rest of the agenda. But I told you that, you know, I'd like to hear the public comments we're going to have for our proposed deal, for, you know, where your money is going to as taxpayers and what we're doing with the district. So your opportunity, I'll give you a couple of minutes to leave, and we'll continue on with our agenda. You're more than welcome to stay if you want to. We'd like to have you and listen to what you know, all the discussion we have that goes on the rest of the board meeting. But I know you have things to do tonight, so you know, thank you for showing up tonight. Appreciate it, and you guys have a good night. And the rest of you are welcome to stay.
Thank you.
Say it. Turn it up.
Okay, next on the agenda is the district of recognition. First is the bus driver, Mr. Chase Carlisle, you know, from the insurance company. Our insurance company has a presentation to make for our bus driver of the year. Mr. Carlisle?
Yeah, y'all can come on up.
Charlie, or?
Hey, good evening, Mr. Mullinex, board members. I just, as the Director of Transportation, it is my pleasure and honor to, we're gonna introduce one of my employees, bus driver of the year. I love him to death. And Mr. Carlisle is gonna present this to him. But first, I'd like my transportation supervisor, Beth Ward, to come and give some accolades about Mr. Garrett. So.
Good evening. I wish I could clone him. I really do. He shows up for work on time every day, never complains. We ask him to do trips. He jumps right in there and wants to do them all. He's just an awesome person. He's always got a cool, level head. You know, he's good with the kids. He worked well with the team. He's just, I just can't say enough. I mean, he's just great. So we really appreciate him.
And this is Mr. Garrett Keys. Come up here.
Yeah.
Come on up here. And of course, I second this opinion here. Great guy here. I'm gonna let Mr. Carlisle go ahead and do the presentation.
Trying to steal my show here.
I'm sorry, man. That's right. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
We'll get you going.
Welcome back.
Hello, how are y'all? Good evening, school board members, administrators, and guests. On behalf of Carlisle Insurance and PCAT, I want to thank you for the opportunity to honor one of your employees. Each day, school bus drivers are entrusted with safely transporting our children to and from school. No matter the weather conditions or the traffic, their performance on the road must always be A+. PCAT and Carlisle also recognize that school bus drivers help set the tone for children's daily experiences. You could say that they are our school's ambassadors. Typically, the bus driver is the first school person who children see in the morning and the last they see in the evening. And just as it's said about great school teachers, we believe that the same holds true for the best bus drivers. It's not a job, it's a calling. On behalf I'm sorry, I skipped this paragraph. This year, following a selection process by the district, one exceptional driver was chosen to be the district's PCAT Bus Driver of the Year. On behalf of PCAT, it is my honor to present Mr. Garrett Keys with the 2021-2022 PCAT Bus Driver of the Year Award, along with a 20-ounce Yeti tumbler and a tote, both embossed for coffee specifically. Both embossed with Bus Driver of the Year. Please help me in congratulating Mr. Keys.
Get them up here somewhere and get their picture.
Photo op.
Yes. Here, you got this thing you got to hold to.
I'll get up there with them, so. Good job. You must be his wife. Congratulations to you. One more. Thank you.
Somebody can use to put on social media. Good job.
Ms. Carlisle, we'd like to thank you for doing that presentation for us. And again,
Absolutely.
just for public information, we honor all of our bus drivers. We know they have a hard job, and it's hard to get bus drivers today to do what we're doing. We have a hard time every year getting bus drivers to work. Every district in the state has the same problem. And so we do appreciate the effort they put out every morning, getting our kids safely to school and taking them on trips they go on to, as well as what they do after school to get them back home safe to their families. So we appreciate the opportunity and you to present them an award because we show that we appreciate them every day, but we just don't show it very much. But we thank you very much. Anybody else have any comments? Anybody want to make a comment?
Bus driver looked like a little student.
He is young.
Next
great.
on the agenda is the Panther and Employees of the Month, May 2022. Mrs. Cook?
As we've done all year, this is our last one for the year. If you can believe the year is coming to a close, 11 more days with our students. So I think we just won't share our sentiments. It's been a long, hard year, but a good one in many ways. So we have our video presentation. Hopefully next year we'll be able to start having them come back as we used to do, and you'll be able to see them here with their families. But we have our video of our employees and Panthers of the Month.
Good job.
And so in order for for me to have Blaze, she does all the preparation and does the certificates. So I had to make her certificate. It's not perfect, and then we surprised her. So she thought she would never be it. I thought, no, you're it really every month, but I just can't award it to you every month.
Well, and again, we pass our congratulations to the people who are honored for Student of the Month and Employees of the Month. We do appreciate your effort and what you do for us every day of the year for us all the way through. So, and our employees as well, and the students for attending school every day and showing good citizenship and stuff, and administrators and teachers for helping them to get their education. We appreciate that. So, thank you. Next, the superintendent's report, construction report, an update on Keyberger. First is an update on the Keyberger remodel project. It has been voted by administration for attachments. Does anybody have any questions on that? Had an opportunity to see it? Ms. Cook, do you have anything?
Well, you have the timeline. We have the bids, anything that was put in. We will open those on Wednesday. We did hear what you were saying about the plumbing, and so we had we put the plumbing report in here. They told us it was in fair condition and would probably be fine. I didn't think you would like fair and probably fine. I didn't feel comfortable with that, especially after I looked at the pictures. Don't know much about plumbing, but that didn't look too good. So we went ahead and we had time to put that in the scope of work. That's why we moved the deadline back a little bit, because we'd planned on bringing all that to you tonight, but we pushed it back a little so that we could get the plumbing in there and have them quote doing all the plumbing right underneath that main part of the building. So that we'll open that up Wednesday. So I would like to request, if possible, that we could have a special meeting the next Wednesday, May 18th, to bring back to you the contractor that for approval, so that we could get them rolling. Because if we wait until the next board meeting, that's 3 weeks that we could have been on the books, and it puts us further behind. So I don't like to have to ask you to do special meetings, but I didn't know if it might be possible to do that. And so.
Does anybody have any concerns or can't make the May 18th date, the Wednesday?
I'm available, but I don't know.
Yeah, well,
Overbooked everything
yeah.
because of last week, so.
Well, as long as we got a quorum.
I'll do what I can.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not
Vicky,
sure.
you okay with that?
I'll just have to check my schedule.
You got to check the schedule?
I work a place that breaks all the time, so.
Yeah, I know,
can't-
you don't know
I
until,
can't-
you don't know the day of.
You
Gotcha,
know,
gotcha.
my
Well,
company-
so far, we got like 4, so we at least got a quorum, and if you guys have any inputs, you can be more willing to make them to us and that, so.
Yeah, we'll
and
make
that,
sure
so-
you have it all prior, so if
Yeah,
you have
so-
any
so,
questions
yeah,
or.
so you have any questions, you can get a hold of Ms. Cook and answer your question before we meet. But May 18th at what, 6 o'clock, or you want 7, or?
Whatever works for all of you, I'll be here.
Anytime is fine with me.
I'm good with 6 o'clock, so we can get it over early, and, that way you don't have to, be an hour earlier to get it over with, so we can it shouldn't take that long, hopefully, so,
Okay.
yeah. So
Wonderful.
6
Thank you.
o'clock on Wednesday, the 18th.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Moving along, so hopefully when we it depends on when we open it. Hopefully it's good, or we won't need a meeting. So, you want me just to continue on?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions or concerns on the construction report as far as Keyberger? Have any more questions about it? And we'll discuss when the bids come in and approve the bid, so at our board meeting the 18th. Again, if you have any other questions, you can bring them up to Ms. Cook. Enrollment attendance COVID-19 report, Ms. Cook?
Basically, as we're closing out, on May 5th, we had 94.56%. We almost got a 95%, so starting to look a little better. COVID cases still next, to nothing. I think we had maybe 1 since April. So finishing out the year in a good manner, and hopeful and prayerful that that's the way we will begin. Our enrollment is sitting right about 1655, fluctuates a little here and there. We starting pre-K kinder roundup. Think tomorrow is our first one, and then on Thursday. So hopefully, we had a lot of our pre-K students that, and I think kindergarten students that didn't come this year. They just homeschooled them and chose not to send them. So I think we're going to see a real influx there. And then they just a lot are moving into the area. So I think we're gonna just believe that next year is going to be bigger and brighter and for us.
So anybody have any questions on the enrollment, absence of campus totals as far as that goes in that? And again, understand that, we're not the only district going through attendance rates. The whole state, in fact, the whole nation is going through attendance rate. For some reason, kids after COVID are having a hard time getting back into school and attending school. So it's just not something that just ran just past that we're low. And in fact, that's one reason why the state come out and waived our funding for this year, one more year, because they're going to base it on what was pre-pandemic as far as our ADA for funding. So, and that was good news for all the boards in the state of Texas to hear, because they were looking at their funding coming up and their budgets and they weren't matching. So So, but again, thank you. Anybody got any questions on that or comments? Next is a summer school program planning update. Ms. Cook.
Basically, we just wanted to put some information in there for you. We included, as I said, the 215 that are enrolled, and that's very exciting to have that many students coming to this great learning opportunity. And then we put the field trips. I thought that would be interesting to you to kind of see all the different things that they're going to go out and see and benefit from, on top of all the great hands-on learning during the day.
Do anybody have any questions on the summer program? Extreme. Again, kind of looking forward to see, hopefully next year, the results, we'll see the benefits from what happens during the summer, that our kids they'll still retain a lot. So hopefully they'll retain some of the knowledge. They won't have the big gap we always get over the summertime. So
that's what we're hoping.
Hopefully that'll kind of mend that a little bit, because historically most districts always have a big learning gap when school starts back, and the first 6 weeks is kind of reteaching and learning. So hopefully we don't have to do as much of that, so we can get back on track to where the kids need to be at.
I have a question. These students that are going to participate this summer, is there a way to check? I mean, it's a wonderful program, and I'm really excited that we're doing this. Is there a way to measure the effectiveness of it?
We're going to look at their end of year, where they were end of year, and then when we do the beginning of year assessment, we'll be able to see, because usually, as Mr. Mullinex was saying, we have a summer slide. You always see just about every child, unless their parents really work with them during the summer, and there's not a lot that do that. You will see that they'll end at a certain level at the end of the year, and you can tell when they come back that they lost some of that, and we have to do the recovery. So what we're hoping and we believe will happen, if they'll come and participate in the program all through the summer, that they will not have that summer slide. I'm really thinking, with the kind of experiences the teachers are creating, there could even be growth here. So that's how we're going to be looking, what we're going to be looking for, beginning of year to end of year to beginning of year.
Okay, thank you.
But we don't want to do a lot of testing through the summer. That kind of zaps out the initiative, what we're trying to do. Mm-hmm.
Anybody else got any comments or questions? Next, calendar of upcoming events. Ms. Cook?
Well, the next two pretty much go together. Just you have a whole list of things, and I don't think it still has everything on there. I know Blaze. I'm sorry? NJROTC. Oh, it's okay. Okay, so there is one event on there that's on Friday the 13th, the NJROTC. You can mark that one off your list. That is, we've already done that. We're trying to double up and have them do another event. But the other events on there are happening, a lot of them, and all the way through Saturday and Sunday of next weekend. So there's no room to be bored, right, Ms. Hale? So Blaze is we're trying to remember to shoot you out a text and remind you as it's coming up on you, because we know this is a lot happening. So we would love to see you at any or all the events that you can attend. I know it's hard sometimes to make them all, or you can do like me. I totally forgot the NHS induction until I went to bed that night and I saw the pictures on Facebook. I'd immediately sent an apology. I guess I was tired that day and said, I'm going home. So you have to, Blaze going to start sending me reminders of where I'm supposed to be. And then just a reminder that we finally fell on a date. Hopefully we're still good with it. So if y'all can really secure that team of 8 training for June 8th, 6 to 9 p.m. Region 2 will be facilitating that. I think it'll be a packed 3 hours of good discussions. So just wanted to remind you of that.
All right, thank you. I got one comment on the torch awards. Supposed to be tomorrow night, and in the past the school board's always got an invitation to that, and we've not received anything. Have we not sent them out, or just we're not going to have it, or is it going to be a dinner, sit down dinner? We have to just desserts. So we're invited to it, right? Okay. Yeah.
It's on here.
Yeah. Well, I know last year they did the same thing, and I don't think again. So just for in the past they've always had a sit down. A lot of times had a sit down dinner, and a formal presentation and stuff going on, and the kids come up, and it's a good deal because the kids get to recognize the teacher that's done. Yeah, that they get to recognize somebody that affected their education throughout the years, and give and honor them at that point. And so the kids write their little essays about their teacher and what they did to do it. So it's pretty impressive, and it's I think it's rewarding to the teachers as well as the students. So, and I kind of always look forward to going to see it. So, but anybody have any comments on anything going on as far as the events coming up? Any questions on anything?
I have a question about Team of 8 training.
Yes.
Are we going to get kind of like some beforehand, some of the topics we're going to go over so we can try to work through some of it?
I'm actually supposed to meet we're trying to get our schedules to mesh so we can meet this week to finalize that with Region 2 based off of your input of kind of what we felt like from our last time we discussed all this. Once that's finalized, yes, I'll send all that out to you so that you'll have the topics, because it is going to be a 3 hours packed of accountability, facility, master planning, all that. So yes, I will, once we finalize that agenda, I just haven't had a chance to meet with them yet. They've been.
And part of it was, I think, if we can work it into the agenda, and she's going to check with the Education Service Center, meets our criteria to work on our board goals that we want for next year, and also our 5-year strategic plan for buildings and things in the district. So we have a plan to go forward, so we know, what we need to look ahead. So we kind of keep ahead of the ball game on facilities and things we need to do.
Yeah.
So
this
and
was
where
what
our
I
funds
had
are gonna come
sent them based off your topics. The first hour was roles, rights, and responsibilities with a focus on the code of conduct, board operating procedures, and board evaluation. So that's basically looking at those documents and just, is there any, because a lot of this will be, since you only have an hour to look at that, looking at it, what is it, where are we, and is there any next steps you want to do with it, or is it good? So that's how we're going to have to approach this. So we're going to cover a lot of ground. The second hour is looking at the academic performance with a high level look at the scores for this year. And this is what I proposed to them. I just haven't met with them yet based off of what you all said, that have been received in the board's role in addressing the performance, as kind of goes along with the goals that we have, just how that meshes, especially that goal number 1 about accountability, A rating, and so forth. And then the third hour is an overview of the facility master planning, looking at those lists and any things we need to add, and then definitely what next steps we want to do with that one. So I think all of those will be more to come. It's kind of like just kind of putting it together, what we want to focus in on, because there's a lot we could talk about in each of those areas. Does that still sound good to you? That was what?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And if anybody has an opportunity or has anything you want to add to what we need to talk about in that, feel free to take the opportunity to get a hold of Ms. Cook and discuss it with her, and we'll see if we can kind of work it into the agenda because again, there's certain criteria we have to meet the requirements for education service in the state to get the 3-hour credit. So So we want to make sure that we get that out of the way, because it's kind of hard for all of us, all 8 of us, to get together at one time, for training like that, for less, especially if it's a 3-hour block and stuff. The
Right.
board meetings, we can make, but this is something else in addition to that. So, so I appreciate your time and effort for attending that, and it's important for us to work together and set those goals and things for us, so we know what we're going to be doing in the future, and so we have a vision ahead of what we're looking for. Yes, ma'am.
And I just want to say I appreciate whatever you are able to give us ahead of time, because I don't mind doing homework beforehand, so that when we come, that we can just really get in there
Right.
and maximize that time with all of us
Definitely.
in one place at one time.
Great, we will do it.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any comments on Team 8 training? Next on the agenda is the financial reports. Again, accounts payable, budget status, investment, tax collection, bond finance, and FEMA projects. That was in your board package, each one of those. And Ms. Stansbury, you have anything to add to those, or?
I'll answer questions if everyone.
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions on accounts payable? Budget status and investments? Tax collections? The bond finance? And the FEMA project report?
Just any word, any inkling from FEMA when those reimbursements
It's a continuing
might
conversation.
land here.
They ask, I send, they
Okay.
ask, I send, that's basically.
Yeah, the
So
FEMA
it's still cat
project,
and mouse.
yeah. And that's an ending process, and like I say, people are still waiting for, Hurricane Harvey stuff, and there's a bunch of other stuff that's out there in the school districts in the Houston area waiting for things 8 years ago from the hurricane hit there for FEMA projects. They're still waiting for approved FEMA funding, so it's out there. It's just, sometimes it's just slow coming in, so. Thank you. And next is consent agenda. Consider and approve minutes of the April 11th board meeting, regular board meeting. Again, the minutes were provided for the board to review. Does anybody have any comments or corrections on the board minutes?
No.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda items?
So moved.
Motion made by Ms. Diossis. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Butler. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Next is consider and approve a memorandum of understanding. Next we go to the action agenda. And the first item is consider and approve a memorandum of understanding between Aransas Pass ISD and Aransas Pass ISD Education Foundation. Ms. Cook?
As you heard, they came, it's been a couple of months ago now, I guess it was March, where we had representatives from the Education Foundation come and share the vision and what all is going to be happening with that. And as part of our process of developing everything is having a memorandum of understanding. So we all understand what each party will, how we will participate in this great partnership that is going to benefit our teachers, which in turn benefits our students and our district as a whole. So a very exciting opportunity. This is a very standard MOU that's done between education foundations and districts. We vetted it, gone through it, asked questions. So I bring it to you tonight, asking for you to approve.
Okay, and again, that's part of your board package. Anybody have any questions on the memorandum of understanding between the Education Foundation and the board? Again, with no questions, do I have a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding between the APISD and APISD Education Foundation?
So move.
Motion made by Ms. Hill. Do I have a second? Second by Ms. Diossis. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Next is consider and approve out-of-state overnight trip request for the APHS band. Ms. Cook?
As per policy, any out-of-state overnight trip is to be approved by the Board of Trustees. And so this year, our band is going to get to make their trip. So they're excited, and you have all the information about when they're leaving, how their itinerary, everything that's needed is there. So we bring it to you tonight for your consideration.
Anybody have any questions on that? they're going to Walt Disney World June the 5th to 8th.
Yes.
Okay, I just have one comment. Again, I think I've talked to you earlier about this. Is the fact, in the news recently, I think about a couple of months ago, there was some school from Texas that went and played something for the fight song, and it got to be a big issue on CNN News and Fox. You may have seen it about they kind of put it at a racist deal on that. We want to make sure our
Well,
band
they're not
doesn't.
playing. They're
Yeah,
it's just
that-
yeah.
yeah. So again, we want to make sure that
Right, they're not playing.
they're representing the school when they're there. So we want to make sure they're
Yeah.
on the best behavior.
Oh yes, definitely.
So.
But yeah, that's correct. They're not playing at this event. So.
All right, thank you. Okay, anybody have any questions on that? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the out-of-state trip request for the Renovations Pass High School Band to Walt Disney World, Florida from June the 5th to 28th?
I make a motion.
A motion made by Mr. Delfino and a second by Mr. Rector. All in favor, say aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, I hope you have a good time. Next, is consider and approve the TEAC certification instruction material allotment. Ms. Cook?
This is a standard yearly action item that we bring to you to certify our instructional materials allotment. You have the documents with the proclamation for 2022 along with the committee selections. Well, my computer's acting up here. And you see that we're looking at elementary health and PE, Quavar education, health PE, middle school and high school health, Good Heart Wilcox Texas Health Skills were chosen. So we bring this to you tonight for consideration.
Anybody have any questions on that? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the instruction material allotment for TEAC certification as presented by the administration?
So moved.
Motion made by Ms. Rector, seconded by Ms. Diasas. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Next is consider and approve the voting delegate and an alternate for APISD at the 2022 TASB Delegate Assembly. Again, Ms. Cook?
I would have to allow you to share more with that since you know more about that than I do. So I'll let you speak to that.
Yeah, okay. The TASB every year comes up with resolutions that they come up with a list of resolutions that we as board members they come up with the top 20 throughout the state, and the TASB board votes and approves those at our regular meeting in September, the end of September, and before the state legislators meet, those resolutions are a lot of things that we want our state legislators or elected officials to show support for or against whatever we're trying to do. So this resolution is from the District of Texas with what our priorities are, what I'd like them to consider when they're trying to either vote on or approve or do recommendations for for funds or money or whatever it might be for state funding in the future legislation. So they hold that every 2 years, and and we've been successful. TASB has been successful in the past. Getting some of those things through to state legislators and supporting educators in what we're doing. And so this is an opportunity. We meet, we have a delegate that we go to. There's a voting delegate at every school has a primary and a secondary representative. We get one vote just like everybody else, and they approve those to go through them and refine them and put wording into them and get them refined. And they make a final approval at the state board meeting that we have in September, and then they use those to go to our people that work in the legislators from TASB, use those to go to our legislators and present them to things that we as a school board in the state of Texas want them to try to initiate and put forth as bills or whatever we need to do, either voting for or against something. So, and again, any type of public support for that. I'm on the Legislative Advisory Council, which is for the Education Services Center number 2, is one of the 4 members for that district to go to it, and we have a meeting in June to kind of talk about this as well. And if anybody has any type of things they want to add to it, that there's a format you have to use, and that that's basically all the things I know. Unless you have any questions.
Well, on this one, you need to approve who
Yeah.
who's going to be the member and the alternate.
Yeah, and I do have, one recommendation for a resolution that I'd like to submit later on when we get to that, after we vote for who the member's gonna be. Do you have anybody want to volunteer? Again, I'm already on the LAC already, so, I'm gonna be there as far as the LAC representative, so I'll volunteer to be the primary. And I think last year Mrs. Butler was the alternate, but it's a good opportunity, you can express your feelings, what you learned when you were there last year, because you sat in the first time last year, so you're gonna express what it did for the other board members, or have any comments?
Well, let me just add that I will gladly serve as the alternate if the board, if there's no one else who would like to
Anybody want to volunteer to do that?
take that role
Yeah,
for this
it
upcoming.
takes the afternoon of the last board meeting, or training up in, I guess it's gonna be in San Antonio this year. The last afternoon of that, you have to sit, and it's about anywhere from 4 to 5 hour session that you have to sit through and vote on things as they talk and refine them. But it's a good opportunity to learn a little bit more about the details about TASB and what's happening. And like I say, I'll throw my name out as a primary if you want to be the alternate. Anybody else want to volunteer? No? Okay, so again, do I hear a motion to see, let me read it right here.
I think it's really important because this is the Texas Association of School Boards, and so this is the opportunity for school board members across the state to come together and flesh out whatever issues that hopefully that legislators will take into consideration on behalf of education in Texas. So.
Okay, and if you don't,
I personally appreciate y'all doing that. I can't commit to something that far ahead. I'm
Yeah.
going to be nominated for something I may not be able to attend.
Yeah.
But it is very
well,
important
it's
to have a
important to have
voice.
somebody there. 'Cause if you don't have it, then the alternate has to attend, and if they're not there, then you lose your vote. So, we don't make a comments, but, But again, with no other nominees, do I hear a motion to approve John Mullex to serve as the district voting delegate and Juanice Butler to serve as the alternate for the 2022 TASB Delegation Assembly?
So moved.
Motion made by Ms. Hill, seconded by Ms. Diasas. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody disapprove? Okay, carries. Again, Ms. Cook, if you can send that forth to him, appreciate it. Again, I have, a resolution which, and I think,
Good,
that,
that's in the discussion, yeah, it's coming up,
yeah, we got that
Yeah.
later on? Okay, good.
yes.
Okay, next is consider and approve the plaque for the sports complex facility. Again, Ms. Cook, you have any comments on that?
I put in here that we had the request to look at that. We put some renditions so you could see what the others look like, kind of remind yourself of what a plaque might look like. I think the discussion had been potentially first of all, you have to decide if you want to do that. If you do, then where you want it. The suggestion was on the actual concession stand, and then the cost of it would be about $2,600. And then I guess we'll find $2,600 to do that.
Anybody have any questions or comments on that? I guess my question is if we decide to do this, we need to decide what names to put on it. Do we want to put just the sitting board members right now? Or do we want to put, Mr. Stansberry, who was on the board at the time, we were in all those discussions when we approved that and went forth on that part of the final concession deal as far as the athletic fields as well as everything else, so,
Me personally, I would think we need to put the board members that were there at the time we first got the program going.
I think
I
Mr.
agree.
You agree with that, Victor?
And we've already set that precedent.
Yeah, 'cause we've done that in the past for other things we've done, like at Falk on the plaque there and that. So, again, my recommendation is the sitting board members plus Mr. Stansberry as a previous board member. Does anybody have any other suggestions about any other board members I'm missing that we need to put on there?
That would include Ms. Johnson and Mr. Abrego as well,
Who? Oh, Ms. Branch?
Veronica Johnson
and Ms. Branch as well.
Yeah, okay.
I have a
Because they were there when we did the bond election, which approved for the concession stand, so they weren't in the discussions as much when we were doing the baseball fields and stuff, but they were there when we did the initial bond, so.
Was there a plaque there from way back when.
For the old
For-
concession stand, never saw.
No, for the stadium.
There's one at the entrance, right, over there. There used to be one over there.
First walk in the gate over here.
But I mean, that lists the school board members.
No, this just,
The memorial.
this is just the memorial of who is far in that, so.
Board.
That, just like we have at the baseball field now for the Bob Spears plaque over there for him. And that, there's no other plaques there. And again, we just bring that consideration if you want to do it. And again, we don't have to do it, but that was just made, we've done that at every other building facility, structure we've done. Not the athletic fields and things, but the actual buildings and structures, we've always put a plaque on it, so.
Our past practice is to put those on any facilities that we constructed or any bond projects.
And that was part of the bond, so.
Yeah, the concession and restrooms were bond, but not the field work and drainage
Yeah.
work.
So again, I guess, does anybody have any, any other suggestions, other than Ms. Branch and, Ms. Johnson and Mr. Stansberry? Those three added on to it. So we'll add on it with the sitting board members.
Mr. Abrego was part of the bond package also. Rudy was part of the bond package.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he was there way back whenever, because he's part of the one on Keyberger too, and so he's there. Thank you, Victor. Appreciate that. Forgot about Rudy. Again, those people added to the plaque, so we'll see what it is, and then we'll try to figure out where we're going to come up with the money. Again, this is something that if we don't have the money in this funds, we could always wait to do it next year. It's just not, it depends how we got the funds if we got to do it, but I think it's something we go ahead and approve, put it on the agenda, and if we get funds come in that we can do it, but it's something that, if we need funds for something else, we need to use those funds for more important things in the district than plaques. So that's my own personal opinion. Anybody else have anything to say on that?
So that I'm understanding, you're wanting the board of trustees, so basically like the board of trustees that you see on the Falk and the gym that were the sitting board members are part of the bond passage, that were on the board when the bond was passed. Is that what I'm hearing you say? I'm trying to make sure which names we're putting
Yes,
on there.
ma'am. Ms.
So-
Johnson, Veronica Johnson, Patricia
Right.
Branch.
So it'd be basically,
Rudy Abrego.
but you want to show them as former trustees
Yes,
on
ma'am.
that one, since it's not being put
Yeah,
up until now?
yeah.
Okay.
So just like we did at, I think the one at
Okay.
Keyberger's got former trustee, I think Rudy Abrego on it or something like that.
But we're
So-
not putting the new sitting board members, or we are?
Sure you are.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's what,
Yes, ma'am.
that's where
But
I was
they're-
misunderstanding,
yeah,
where we
the sitting board
so
members plus
everybody
him.
now, and then the ones that were on for the bond.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am, got it.
Got
So everybody, we'll get the
Oh,
name
and
up there, so.
Georgie wasn't on the,
Yeah,
yeah.
he was there
George-
too. Georgie Hernandez, right?
oh, he was a part of, yeah,
Yeah,
so
he was
we
part
had
of the- when
George.
we did the initial discussion,
Alvarado.
when we started this way back whenever he was there, as far
Yeah.
as, for like 3 months, so, we need to thank you for bringing that to attention. I forgot about him too. There's been so many changes since we started the bonds, so, been a
Well,
lot of
we'll,
changes.
I guess if you want to approve that and say it all bond through now, and then what we'll do, we'll have a rendition. We'll make sure you all see it, and we have the names right like you want it.
Yeah, just the final rendition and
Yes.
that before, and again, Ms. Stansberry has a better idea of our funds. It's like around $2,600. Again, our budget's kind of limited this year, so we don't, if that money needs to be spent on something else, Cheryl, make sure it's done, because we can always put this off and try to put it in the budget for next year. So, anybody have any comments or extra additional things on that? Okay, let's see. Do I hear a motion to approve the plaque as we stated with the people's names on it to be placed on the new concession stand at our sports facility?
So moved.
A motion made by Mr. Director. Here a second. Second by Mr. Flores. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, good. Again, Ms. Cook, we'll just kind of put it up there and get some prices on it, and then,
Okay.
we'll see what we got the funds to do it or not. But at least we got what we need and get it in motion. So if
Okay.
it doesn't happen to next year's budget, so be it. Thank you. Next is a discussion item to discuss the potential advocate resolution to be adopted by the June 22nd, June 2022 regular board meeting for submission to TASB advocacy agenda. Again, that's just that's something I kind of asked you to put on there because, again, Mr. Bennett, you can kind of help me on this, but our last safety meeting we had, we brought up a deal that the vaping at the schools, especially the high school and maybe the junior high, is a very very big problem going on, and they have instruments inside the restrooms, alarms inside the restroom that are set off, and our administrators and staff, go in and kind of, apprehend the kids as much as they can to find out who the culprits are in there doing that. And then sometimes it's just not cigarettes and vaping, it's other, substances they're using in those vapes. And the problem is, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Bennett, but the problem is that that as far as discipline-wise for those kids, there's very little we can do. Our hands are tied. And it used to be, the police could come in and give them tickets and things for doing that, but now they can't. So my deal is to recommend to the state legislators, maybe they want to implement some law that allows administrators a little bit more, that unhandcuffs them in dealing with that problem, since it's a problem not only at this school, it's throughout the state and throughout the nation, that maybe they can give us a little bit more, something behind us just saying don't do it, and then our administrators trying to figure out how to handle the problem because there's nothing that backs them up, to do it. So, you have any to add to that, Mr. Bennett? That kind of cover it?
That's pretty much it. Discussed in our safety meeting, trying to find something to give us something to battle this with, and it's not just here; it's everywhere. It's a tough situation that the admin are in, trying to. We're not out to catch people, but if they're doing things they shouldn't be, we need to do something about it. And right now, they're just chasing after them, and it was discussed to try to do something that would give us a little bit more
Chief
power
Blanchard
behind
kind
it.
of brought that up as well during the meeting, that his hands are kind of tied, so he can't do anything in that. So I suggested to him maybe we can bring it up as far as the TASB resolution and get the state legislators to give us a little power to help our discipline kids, keep them safe, and keep them where they're not doing those things in the bathroom, and allow administrators some little bit force behind when they're enforcing the rules of something they can do to punish the kids. Again, as long as it's not, just we don't want to make, we want to make it educational for them. So again, it could be anything for requiring them to go to classes or things like to do with a drug testing program and things like that, where it's non-punitive, but it's more of an educational experience for them, and hopefully we can get them to correct them so they don't do it. So again, right now they're not able to do that. So does anybody have any other thing they would like to add any resolutions about, or have any comments on that or thoughts?
Is this something that's come up with the advisory committee as well? The LAC?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
No, ma'am. This is just something we brought up at our safety meeting last week, and it's something that the TASB come out with some resolutions they want, and I think it's the middle of June we have to put a resolution in to effect. So we have a board meeting in June. So I'll get with Mr. Bennett and maybe the Chief Blanchard, and we'll come up with the wording we need to put on the TASB resolution, because there's a format you have to put into it. And we'll vote on it in June for that resolution and bring it up as far as a board meeting.
So, John, are you asking for the agenda for next month to put a
Yeah.
draft of a resolution for us to present to TASB? Is
Yeah.
that what you're asking for? Okay.
Yeah, so we can come up at the board meeting next time and approve that resolution and the wording of it, so we can bring it up to and send it off to TASB, so it could be in the deal, because I think, when's our board meeting again?
The regular
next
board meeting?
Yes, ma'am.
Would be June. I have to look.
June 8th, I believe.
13th. Okay, thank you.
Because I can't remember, I think our LAC meeting, I have to look and see what our LAC meeting is. The LAC meeting is 18th of June in San Antonio, so, we might be able to put it on the special board meeting as an item discussion for our meeting on the 18th, if that's
Okay.
possible. If anybody have any objection with that. That way we can get it out of the way and get it off, admitted in time, because without that, you know, we wait till June, it's got like 4 or 5 days before it has to be, at TASB to be implemented, so it gives us an opportunity to refine it. So anybody have any questions or comments on it? So, any suggestions or any problems with that?
Well, as a suggestion, maybe to further shape this, because it is a resolution, if we can have some type of, and I don't know if what's available we may have to pull in some other districts, but to have some supporting data or stats or demographics or something to really sell it, to get the attention, you know, because this would be, you're talking about something that is happening statewide, but what do we have to show that? Whether it's going to be statements or, you know, kind of like witness statements or testimonies from educators or administrators or school board members. How do we get the message across, I guess?
Well,
Ideally, you would want to do that, but with the time frame that you have, I mean, and we're passing our own resolution, it's going to be hard to get the other school districts to jump on board with that. It's probably something we should have been working on at least a couple months ago. That's not to say that we can't do it. We can draft any, we can word the resolution
It's not
any
to
way
say
we
if you
want.
submit it to TASB, they're going to accept it, you know, in that. So again, if it's there, does it make the final cut? And then we vote on it at the TASB, all those types of things. It's just an idea to put it out there, because you know, you as well as I know that when you start out, there's you know, a lot of resolutions they have to talk. It's like a 4-hour talking, that's all they do is talk about them. So it's 4 or 5 hours of just discussing on resolutions and stuff. So they go into a lot of details and stuff and a lot of back and forth. So there's a lot of comments going on. So, you know, and other school districts may not want to do that. But again, you know, if they support it, then it's out there, and at least we tried something. You know, just try to help our safety, you know, safety team and our administrators, kind of help them do their job a little bit better. So, you know, it was just an idea that we come up with to safety. I mean, I just want to pass it on to you.
I have a question. In our packet here for the resolution submittal form, on this one in particular, it says to make sure that your resolution's not a duplicate of the priorities that TASB's already mentioned. But it's very vague what they mentioned. It's kind of a very vague and broad topics that may or may not particularly cover what. Is there somewhere where I can find more information on their top priorities and what exactly that entails?
Well,
because they like to give us generalized.
When we submit it to TASB, sometimes what they do is maybe 3 or 4 other districts or people in the state come up with something very similar, and they combine all those together into one resolution and make it one resolution from the conglomerate of the boards that they come together, instead of just one board doing it. So if, you know, again, if other boards make that really, you know, something similar to that, they kind of consolidate it, so you're not having, you know, part 1, part 2, part 3 of the same thing. They kind of put them all together and come up with one big resolution for the state legislators to implement. So.
Okay. I was just curious because I know you guys were just talking about the vaping, and from this, the priorities that would kind of fall under there could technically fall under mental health and safety. So I was just trying to figure out, I don't want to go beat a dead horse if I go home and think about something, but it kind of falls into one of these topics.
Yeah. Well,
So
it
we'll
has
try
it
to
kinda-
see if we see anything to come across, because I get lots of updates and stuff, so I'll try to pay close attention to that. If I see if it's feeding into that question, what you're saying, so you can be informed, I'll try to just email it out to all of you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Again, that kind of goes in the next topics for future meeting. You know, does anybody have any additional topics? There'll be our topics we'll try to put it on the agenda for our special meeting on the 18th of, this month.
We talked about the plaque, but didn't we discuss about and putting a memory tree out there for Zeke? Out there somewhere.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Memory tree for
A memory tree.
Oh, a memory tree.
Yeah.
Yes,
Zeke
we
Ortiz?
did. Yes, a memory tree out in the front entrance somewhere. That's, yes, totally forgot about that, but I do remember that
We were
conversation.
talking about doing it somewhere where we just did the new construction, somewhere in there.
Somewhere in that area.
Yes.
Well, you maybe can investigate that, and we'll bring it up at our next board meeting, our scheduled board meeting, so, unless you want it done sooner. Anybody have anything else they want topics for future meetings for us to consider? Okay, with that, at this time, we're going to convene an executive session as authorized by the Texas Open Meeting Act, Texas Code 551.001, concerning any and all purposes permitted by the Act. Section 551.074, discussion of personnel, resignations, new hires, contract recommendations, and personnel. Again, the time is now 8:45, and we close this open section and convene in closed session. Thank you. It is now 10:32. We reconvene from closed session back into open session. At this time, I would, to act on the things that we did for consider approvals and resignations, contract renewals and resignations been put forth. Do I have a motion to approve the resignations as presented by administration?
So move.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Hill, seconded by Ms. Director. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Second is consider and approve contract recommendations. Do I hear a motion to approve the contract recommendations as presented by administration?
So move.
Ms. Hill first. Here a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Flores. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the ayes have it. Again, the time is now 10:33, and with no other business before the board, I close this meeting.